And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interest. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow, that that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one feels they can say that. Why? And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes. So I think it's better just to say it right out loud. Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you. And I think our answer should be, no. As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not? And yet everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry, when it's not. It's a baseline question that every U.S. citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell was this?
Tucker Carlson is actively dividing the right. After he gave that speech at Turning Point USA, a conservative convention, this video was shown from the perspective of someone in the crowd, showing people leaving. So it's not like everyone there just automatically agrees with him. No matter what you think about Tucker, he is not letting this story go. Whether it's in speeches like this or is during his own show, he's now blaming the current DOJ.
So let's just assess this logically. They're covering up, the DOJ, the current DOJ under Pam Bondi is covering up crimes. Very serious crimes by their own description. Mm-hmm. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
So there are really only two potential explanations that I can think of. Maybe you've got another. The first is that Trump is involved, that, Trump is on the list, that they've got tape of Trump doing something awful. I don't believe that for two reasons. One, I've talked to Trump about it a lot, and I know him. He's not that, for whatever his sins, I don't think he's that guy, actually. I don't think he likes creepy sex stuff. That's just my view. But more, I think, convincing is that this is all information that the Biden administration had. And if there was evidence that Trump had been involved in illegal sexual activity, you think the people who made up Russiagate wouldn't have leaked it?
Right.
Come on now. So the only other explanation that I can think of, again, maybe you've got another, is that intel services are at the very center of this story, U.S. and Israeli, and they're being protected. I think that seems like the most plausible.
That's the most obvious. They have a history of this. There have been multiple documented cases of inside of the CIA perpetrated by CIA officers, documented that in many of those cases, I believe over a dozen cases, this was a BuzzFeed news piece years back, where the CIA specifically did not want to prosecute those individuals in federal court for fear that they would reveal sources and methods if they were pulled into open court. And they basically just made it go away. The only time they actually prosecuted somebody for child was whenever he'd already being prosecuted for mishandling classified information.
Well, when they want to crush you, they put kiddie porn in your computer. It's why I don't have a computer. Don't own one.
Yeah, if you're an important person, you should be careful.
No computer in my house.
This is an important thing, though, is that we already have documented cases of them covering this up. I believe the CIA Inspector General, I forget the exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, you wouldn't even believe the amount of child that I've seen while I'm on this job.
It's not just Trump is at fault. It's not just another country. There's a whole system at play, and there's more to this cover-up than is public right now. But it's not just him. Also, former CIA agent John Kiriakou, while sitting with Patrick Bet-David, gave us insight on how intelligence agencies recruit people to get information on other countries, and how it's usually way more subtle, but he thinks this may be one of the plays.
I had a trainer, one of my operational trainers, who told us when we were going through the process that the best recruitment he ever made was a copy machine repairman. And I laughed when he said it. And he said, no, I'm serious. Hear me out. He said, all of us want to recruit the prime minister. We're not going to recruit the prime minister. We're not even going to have access to the prime minister. But the prime minister's got a copy machine in his office. And every once in a while, that machine is going to need to be cleaned and serviced. So you recruit the copy machine repairman. And when he goes in there to make his repair or to clean the drums or whatever, he installs a little device that we give him so that every time somebody makes a copy, it transmits a copy back to the CIA. He said, I got a promotion, I got a medal, I got a photo op with the director. It made my career. Because every sheet of paper that went through that prime minister's office went straight to the CIA.
One little chip was doing that.
That's it.
So now, how do you use? So what do you do with those assets now you're getting? You know what the communication is. You know what they're thinking about. You know what their next move is. You know who their enemy is. You know who their ally is.
Exactly. Maybe it's what their position's going to be on trade negotiations. Maybe it's, the prime minister's got some kind of health problem that you need to know about for planning purposes. You never know. You never know what's going to pop. Maybe it's just, spam, or it's a rent-a-car application or stupid stuff. You just throw it in the shredder or in the burn bag. But, that one nugget might come through. And I think that that's what Jeffrey Epstein was.
What do you think about this situation? This doesn't necessarily tie or indict one country outside of the US, but there's definitely a bigger play at hand. Do you think this issue will splinter the right? Let me know in the comment section what you think. And if you're watching this far, you might as well like the video and subscribe to the channel. Peace.